This is third time lucky, the third recording of this, if I can get my words out properly. Thank you to the 193 who've liked and subscribed so far. Cheers to you. If we can get another 7 people, that takes us to 200. This time next week, I might fill this cup with no Prosecco or fake beer, whatever I choose to celebrate with. But for now, what I can tell you, if you're new to the channel, if you've just stumbled across this video, I chat about films, movies, the podcast. I don't go for clickbait. I don't go for 101 pop-ups. I don't want to shout at you and distract you with flashy imagery because there's no need for it. I mean, there is, for those who want all the traffic in the algorithm. There's no need for it here in this little corner. There are no purchases to show off this week though. Second Sight have a fair bit of my money with stuff that's coming down the pipeline, but it's not here yet. I know there are a few other pre-orders due. So really, all that's left for me to say is I hope you've been enjoying listening to the podcast. Last week's episode, we discussed Drugstore Cowboy, picked by listener David Ellis, and our own Dave picked Your Name, which is a lovely slice of Japanese animation. And Tyler really enjoyed that one too. So I hope you've seen that. It is really nice. We do the vote at the end of the episode each week, but it's kind of a nominal thing. You know, our opinions are really what we're there for, more than a deciding vote over which film is better than which film every week. It's just something we do to underline certain choices. But most weeks we either encourage you to watch many movies or avoid them all if we've been trying to hurt one another. So yeah, that's it. It's not really gotcha. I think I've mentioned before that I'm a big fan of Apple TV at the moment. Now, again, if you're against Apple products, I understand your stance and you'll stay away from what I'm about to say next. But if you have any Apple products and you've had a chance to have a free trial of Apple TV, it's really good. I mean, they tend to go for quality over quantity, and certainly their shows feel a lot less like content than shows you get elsewhere. Now, you get great shows on Prime, you get great shows on Netflix, but you also get many more shows on there. And there are so many other shows that we either watch once and immediately dismiss or don't watch at all. They're just filling up screens. They're there to add another thumbnail to the never-ending hall of mirrored thumbnails that go on and on. Apple TV seem to have a lot less, but it's really good. So I've enjoyed Slow Horses. I think I've mentioned that before. That was one of the first I dived into after Ted Lasso, which you know, everyone was talking about, so I gave that a go. Shrinking is really good as well, so I watched that. But recently, my big new obsession and passion is For All Mankind, and For All Mankind is a great show. It requires, I would say, a little bit of patience as it really finds its feet in the first season, but becomes just incredible and tense and awe-inspiring, and it's just a beautifully realised world. But more than that, it reminds me personally of what I love about humanity, and I hope other people might get that from it. You might not. I don't know if it's just a me thing, but I hope you do. It reminded me that when I see, last year there was the underwater disaster, and I can't recall the name of the vessel, if it was Ocean Gate or if that was a company, and there was lots of commentary on that. There were jokes doing the rounds quite quickly. It was a very odd situation. At the same time, last year or the year before, you had Jeff Bezos going into space, Richard Branson going into space, blah, blah, blah. I have no interest in those people standing on the shoulders of giants and reaching up to warm their hand on a light bulb that has been put there by generations before them. I have no interest in that at all. What I do have interest in, and what is the absolute best of us as a species, is the fact that people got into space, people got to the moon, people got down to the Mariana Trench, People explored the bottom of the sea for scientific reasons. That is incredible. That is pioneering spirit. That takes courage. Just not even thinking about spacewalks or landing on the moon. I couldn't even wrap my head around the fact that throughout the 50s and 60s, for example, they would have already been trying to come up with a spacesuit that would weather these conditions they were trying to figure out as they went along. They were getting enough data as they could, but my God, it's incredible. The deep sea and deep space are like, they are environments that don't want us there, and you know, they tell us in every way possible that we shouldn't be there because we cannot survive there without so much created around us. And making those steps into those places is incredible and beautiful and awe-inspiring. Being tourists in those places is not the same thing. Doesn't inspire any awe. Doesn't have anything to do with the advancement of mankind. I'm sorry, I don't know if there's a better word nowadays, if there's a non-gendered word for that. So the only thing I had to show this week was a Blu-ray that is a documentary we'll probably never discuss on the podcast, although I've always been tempted to bring it up. And it's called The Farthest. And it's incredible. Now, was it the two Voyagers? I think it was Voyager and Voyager 2. I saw this in the cinema. I may have seen it at one of the Edinburgh Film Festivals. And basically when Voyager and Voyager 2 were sent out into space, what they had contained within them is technology that's far less than what we carry about in our pockets now, in a mobile phone. What they had in them was basically the equivalent of a decent, I would say, scientific calculator, if that, compared to how advanced scientific calculators became. And yeah, if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend this, because it does what For All Mankind, which is fiction, does for me. It does exactly the same thing. It reminds us of like what people can do when they're working together with an aim that isn't inspired by vanity or greed. It's inspired by passion for knowledge, a passion to strive further and further ahead for the whole species, the betterment of all humankind, and just everything that we know and can learn more about and can progress from. It's astonishing, and I wanted to use this week's video to really highlight The Farthest, which remains just strangely one of the most moving documentaries I've watched. So I wanted to mention that. I wanted to mention For All Mankind. I know this stems from a show on Apple TV, but also Apple TV's got a lot of really good stuff on it. So if you do get a free trial, I would encourage you to make the most of it. I'd give a couple of shows a try. If you don't have a free trial, see if you can figure out a way to get one. If you're with Sky, they had an offer where you could get it free for, I think, 3 to 6 months. If you get any kind of device, they may have an offer on there. They're always doing these deals, because if I remember rightly, Apple TV is kind of an offshoot, and that, you know, it's a plus for them that they can package with the devices. I think Apple is still in the device market, and the shows are the bundle they can put with that. It's some kind of different, I think, perception level for what they're doing, but what they're doing is really good, and I like that, and maybe it's quite appropriate that For All Mankind is a show on there, considering wildly varying opinions are available, but considering what you might think of Steve Jobs from then on. So I'm sure I can get folk commenting, explaining their intense dislike of Apple and maybe even Steve Jobs. But I hope there are some fans of For All Mankind out there. I hope maybe one or two of you have seen The Farthest, and I hope you understand the point that I'm making this week. Look, the world is still a terrible place right now. It's ongoing terrible. Has been for, God, I don't know. It feels like it has been terrible for at least a decade now. Like properly terrible. So sometimes it's nice to remember what can happen when people band together with science and a passion for knowledge, and what that can do in small stages for the absolute betterment of the whole human race over time, hopefully. I mean, let's not send Elon Musk up there to put a campsite on Mars. That's all. That's tourism again. That's all he wants to do. This is brilliance and pioneering. The rest, just, you know, if it's billionaires being billionaires in space, just throw them in the bin. That's it. Went on about that. I hope some of you check that out. I hope it can inspire some positivity, maybe. And again, I would like to see 7 more people next week. If we can take that number up to 200, I'll get back to the Jaws Cup and I'll fill it with some celebratory non-alcoholic liquid. Until then, bye.